What's going on, people? Sarcasm City right back at you with the killers and the heavy hitters. I'm Eddie. I'm joined by my dog Cams, my dog
Yo,
Cozilla. We all come together to host Walk to the Octagon. This time we're bringing you the post-fight reaction show. So fellas, let's get it going. How we feeling, boys?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm still shook. I'm not gonna lie. I woke up
Still
and I was still
shook?
shook by some of them fights, especially the Nunes Pena fight. Wow, that
Yeah,
had me shook.
yeah. Cozilla, what you saying, bro? Are you
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm good. But bro, I feel like that card yesterday may have been the best card of the year because I was reading
Mm.
up on it. It said on the main card every single underdog won apart from Sean O'Malley. So it's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow,
Wow. That's what's up.
that's a
I got
wild
my
start.
thanks to Cozilla reminding me it's Kenyan Independence Day. So it's just happened by reason. I got my stuff on. So big up to all my Kenyans all around the world. We deep out here in them streets. Cams, let's start with you, man. You said it best. Pure shock. Pure just unfiltered shock by what we witnessed from the new women's champion, Juliana Pena. What are your thoughts on the fight, man?
Yo, I think we all thought it was just gonna be like a blowout. We thought she was just gonna eat her. That's what we all
Uh-huh.
thought. We all thought it was gonna be knockout first, second, third round, whichever.
Uh-huh.
Because of all the trash talk before the fight, we thought, yeah, Nunes is just gonna go after her. But nah, the first round, it looked like Nunes was gonna dominate. But the second round, like they got into a dogfight, and Pena won in it. That's all
Right.
there is to say. Like I think she shocked. I think she shocked Nunes with her hands and a power. I think Nunes wasn't expecting it, and it kind of it rattled Nunes to the point where she was trying to get into a shootout with her, which she shouldn't have done. She should have been a bit more calculated with it, and then that led to her getting took down and submitted. It's shocking. It like we said last night, it's one of the biggest sporting upsets in history. Like
Right.
crazy.
Right. Cozilla, what'd you think, man?
Bro, where do I start, man? That was crazy, bro. I still can't believe it. Like I don't have the words. I want to try and articulate with words what I made of that fight. The craziest thing is, right? We were all together and we're watching the fight, and then I said to you guys, I feel like Nunes is in the shape of her life. How wrong was I, bro? How wrong was I?
Yeah, we've all been
gassed
there.
out,
We've
man.
all been there.
She gassed out. And the thing is, no one believed in Pena apart from herself.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, I was watching the pre-fight press conference, like a couple hours before the actual event, and she was so confident, so she knew something. And then to add to that too, Dana's post-fight press conference that I watched today, he was talking about a little story that he had with Juliana Pena, and it was the first ever time he met her. And then Juliana Pena went up to him and said, she was like to him, "You've never met me before, but I will be a champion in your division, in your organization," which is crazy because, like, bro, that type of belief is like you have to be somewhat deluded to be like a fighter. Like you have to have some sort of delusion in you because you have to believe you're gonna win every fight. But bro, she proved everyone wrong yesterday, man, and good on her.
Right. Yeah, man. Big up MM in the chat. I always appreciate you being around, brother. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. You two put it great. The pure shock of what happened in that fight. I think people won't get used to that sensation anytime soon. Because again, when you look at the first round, if you gave somebody the first round and told them, yeah, the person who got dominated like this is going to end up winning the fight, they wouldn't believe you. We were watching that first round. We were seeing Pena get controlled in the one area we thought she had somewhat of a chance, which was the ground game, which was somehow you get a man on the ground, maybe you control her, get some some big shots in, and you move. But what ended up happening in actuality was Amanda looked like the more inexperienced fighter. And what I mean by that is, I think Amanda abandoned her game plan. I think she had a game plan, and something within her said, I'm going to go take this another direction. And the end result was she had nothing left in the tank. Absolutely nothing left in the tank when Juliana Pena put it on her and challenged her to see what she was really about. Big up Juliana Pena, because that was a dogfight. For as long as it truly was a dogfight.
I feel like as well, a lot of us clearly underestimated her. And like I remember in the stream we were talking about her striking and it being so maybe even unorthodox. But the way she just like took the fight to Nunes. And the thing is with Nunes, there was some sort of naivety as well, because I feel like if she slowed the fight down and decided to pick off Pena, there was such a large gap in striking disparity between the two. So I feel like she literally just lost her head, in my opinion. She lost her head and she started firefighting with her. And it was a battle of the fittest, and Pena's cardio won.
Facts, man. She was rattled. You could tell she was rattled. She was rattled.
One and only OG El Jefe. I think he just wanted to pop and see why I won. We appreciate him though. But yeah, it's a mad fight to go back and look at because of just how drastic the fight was from round to round. And I watched a little bit back before this just to familiarize myself, and the shots that Amanda was getting off and Nunes were getting, not Nunes, and Pena were getting off, you just saw the discrepancy in the technicality, if y'all get what I'm saying. Like, you saw who had the more technical punches, but like we've talked about in this UFC, the striking aspect of UFC, you can't really look at it like that, right? Because those punches still hurt. They still take a lot out of you. And you know what else? Looking back on it, I think the effort Amanda took to keep Pena on the ground might have led to her downfall in the later rounds because she was gassed from the ground fight. What do you guys think about that?
That's an interesting take. Like, but I think Amen's just put it best. Like, she got challenged to a brawl and she couldn't back down, so that was her downfall in the end. Like, and her weapons that usually work, where people's chins don't hold up, like Pena's held up. So that's credit to her, isn't it?
Shout out Franklin. What's up, guys? Crazy fights last night. Crazy fights. I think Kozilla. Could you repeat what you said about the underdogs one more time?
So on the main card, every single every single fighter on the main card that won the fight, apart from Sean O'Malley, was the underdog.
Crazy.
Mad.
And only one fight, I think, went to a judge's scorecard, which was the Ponzinibbio fight on the main card.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember we had gotten through a streak of just first round KOs. We had seen a lot of first round KOs, so that makes sense. Back to this comment from Emma. I want to deep dive into it. So Pena chin held up unlike everybody else that got hit by Nunes. That is a great point, and that's something we should stand on, because that literally was the difference in the fight. The lack of back down from Pena, and I don't think we've seen that from any other fighter that Amanda has fought. I
cannot think.
Yeah, I think of all the people who have gotten into a firefight with Amanda Nunes, everybody else has let go of the rope.
I mean,
in one way or another.
I mean, when she was fighting Cyborg was willing to trade with her, but she just got outgunned, literally.
Outgunned, right?
But even then, she was quite hesitant. Where Nunes was walking her down, she didn't really fear her. But Pena she was literally in the phone booth fighting with her. Like they were face to face.
This is a great point by shout out Danzo. Once Pena hit Nunes 4 times in the face, it was over. That's a great observation, because I think that's what all of us, everybody else saw. Would you guys agree with that point?
Yeah. I remember there was a bit in the fight where we were just waiting for Nunes to end the fight with her strikes, and then I just saw it was like a little cut on her nose, and then she started to become more aggressive. So I felt like that was the trigger point. If I'm being quite honest, when she saw her own blood, I think she got a bit intimidated and started to fight back.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I'm looking at it and I honest, and that this point is like, listen, Penya's chin, and I called her a hood fighter because, again, if y'all know these fighters in the hood, bruh, they don't got no technique. They just got all heart. But they ain't the ones that you want to mess with too, because they got all heart. Ain't no back down in them, right?
They got chin and heart. That's what they got.
Chin and heart, bro. That's what they got. And she came in there with the utmost confidence. And just again, she said it best. I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. Like, she was the only one in the gym who had the honest to God, who should have been saying that. Honest to God. She should have been surprised. Everybody else should have been shocked. That's all I'm going to say on that one. But you know what? Just big up her, because she shook up the world with that performance. She really did. She really shook up the division. Nobody has made Amanda look human in years. So it's interesting to see. And another point from MMA, Nunes gassed out bad, though. I heard she had COVID leading up to this fight. But credit to Pena, now she has to slay the GOAT again. Yeah, did you guys hear anything about that? That's interesting.
I think they're doing an immediate rematch, I think.
Yeah. Oh, of course. There's no other.
If she beat her again, wow. Then we are talking if she beats her again, but I don't think she beats her again. I think Nunes adapts her game plan, doesn't get rattled this time. Yeah. I think it's going to be a different fight if they fight again.
Because that was my thing, too. I think, the face doesn't lie. That was my takeaway from that fight. The face doesn't lie. Like, Pena's face compared to Nunes' face at the end of that fight, let me know the power discrepancy was there that I thought was going to be there, right? But Pena had the fortitude to stay in there, get the job done. Nunes, we can't say the same. Shout out Steven. I had Pena back. Actually woke up this morning to see she won. That's a hell of a morning to have. That's a pretty dope morning, huh? Jeez. Drizzy Dez, what up, though? I'm not buying the Nunes COVID excuse. I don't think it's an excuse, but I think we actually have to live in a world where we can't act like COVID isn't a situation that can really affect an athlete, especially an athlete where lung capacity is everything that you need in a fight.
100%.
That's what are you doing all this training for? So your lungs can withstand the challenge of being in such an intense situation for 25 minutes in a championship fight. Unfortunately, though, you are a bit right when it comes to the fact that still doesn't take away the fact that I think for the first time in a while, we saw Nunes get outside of herself with regards to how to control the fight that she was in. What are your thoughts again on the COVID situation, if that was the case?
To be honest, bro, I feel like it's an aspect of the sport we have to take into consideration now, because the times are changing, and right now, like, obviously what's going on in the world is not really a joke, and how it affects athletes should be in the public eye now. Like, obviously, what happens to the fighter, it really depends on the fighter himself. Like, there might be some fighters that come back from whatever happened fine, and then there's other athletes that come out and they suffer big time. What I remember, like, last time I saw like a significant something significant to do with the Rona with a fighter. I remember seeing Khamzat Chimaev, like, he had to take a long time off the sport. And then there was like an Instagram story where he was like coughing blood, or like there was like blood inside the sink, and then he was like contemplating whether he could come back to the sport. And also the featherweight fighter Zabit Magomedov as well. He's had like previous issues with his lungs and the virus too. So it really depends on the fighter, and I feel like it is a valid excuse for Amanda. But I feel like with Amanda in particular, there's also other intangibles to take into consideration. She's just become a mother. This was literally, Dana was talking about how literally if she won this fight, they would be marketing her to fight Kayla Harrison. It would have been the biggest women's fight of all time.
Wow.
So maybe that was on her mind. You know, man, I just feel like it was complacency from Amanda this fight, and I feel like if she does come back, she has to prove that she can beat Juliana on the biggest stage again, man.
No, I hear that. I hear that. Let me get to some of these comments real quick. People in the comments, keep them coming. We'll get them. We will talk about the rest of this card when it comes to what Steven is saying here. Steven, appreciate all the dope comments, bro. I'm going to get to this one right here. I picked Charles to win by submission, and I picked the correct round, but didn't back it. Literally everybody on this panel picked the third. I think Kozilla said what? Second round, huh?
No, fourth.
Fourth. So, yeah, we all said the same at the same time of a third round submission. So, hey, Steven, you're in the right group. Don't even trip out it, bro. Franklin saying lots of outstanding performances, but I think Oliveira did the best. He got a shot to beat Khabib. That would be a crazy fight if we'd ever see it. If we'd ever see it, I'd be there for it. I'd be there for it. Yeah, Steve. Again, I think I got to that one. Can anyone beat Oliveira? Do you think Khabib will come back? Yeah, we're gonna get to that. I said Charles Oz is the best. So Uchiha. I'm my bad. That's the Naruto boy, but I can't. Uchiha Itachi. I think I got that right. So yeah, these guys have really, made a mark on the sport to head into 2022, man. I think by the looks of the comments, everybody is excited for what the future holds because of these two fights and the way they went down. He's saying, again, I saw it in Amanda's eyes. She was not herself. Also, Jesse on Fire said he had people telling him Amanda was not focused this training camp and was caught up in family life stuff with her daughter and shit. Ooh, that's a lot to unpack. Appreciate all the comments, people. Cams, let's get to this. Let's get to this question because not much of it was said before the fight, but much of it is being said after the fight. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I heard the questions by some people about how family life would affect her, but I also heard that would be the reason she would come out and be more focused because she has a daughter now. She's fighting for something,
100%.
But I think it does bring up a good point, and Kozili can chime in on this too about, these fighters are, when they get to the point of the peak, holding the point is way harder, in my opinion, for them than getting to that point of the peak.
It's definitely more
you see
hard.
what I'm getting at? Like,
yeah,
we're starting to see a lot of these fighters who just mow everybody down. Don't get me wrong. There's some champions who hold their own for a while, but we're seeing that getting to the championship, then holding the championship belt are two totally different conversations. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Complacency that becomes a factor. When you're at the top and you're just used to mowing everyone down, I think she got very complacent. I don't think you could say that the family life played a part, but I don't think that was a bigger factor as people are making out. Like, I think it was just complacency, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, bro. As well, in the words of Notorious B.I.G., bro, your reign at the top was short like leprechaun, man. That's how it is, bro. At the end of the day, man. At the end of the day, we've seen it all in the sport. We've seen Anderson Silva knocked down.
Yep.
We've seen GSP lose to Sarah, and we saw him not lose, but he took a very big beating in that fight against Johnny Hendricks.
Everyone thinks he should have lost that. Everyone thinks.
Man, but you know what it is with Hendricks now that the information has come up about what that Joker was doing.
But true say, bro, we didn't even know what was going on at the time.
That fight, though. He did get his ass with that fight.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't know what was going on at the time. It's only recently it came out what happened, but we've never seen GSP ever get damaged like that ever in his career. Like it's crazy. The same thing happened with even McGregor. That fight against Diaz, we were all surprised. Like we never.
Every now and then, there's that fight that just like shakes up the world. Like that was one of them fights yesterday.
Exactly, bro. We've seen it all. Like as the only guys I don't think it's happened to. I feel like it will happen to Jones eventually because he doesn't know what he's got himself in for in the division he's trying to go up in. But the only guys I've ever seen in combat sport that's done that is Floyd and Khabib. So champions need to realize, bro, that their reign at the top isn't going to be forever, and you have to understand this is a sport at the end of the day, but it's a blood sport. There's a lot of repercussions for longevity. Michael Bisping lost an eye, you know. So at the end of the day, like you gotta know when your time is up, and if you're a champion, every champion would aspire, and their dream would to be to retire at the top.
Man, that's well said, man. Well said. I think, just to finish out this conversation, looking forward to the rematch. Now that, like Cam said, she tasted her own blood, like she lost though. So we're no longer talking about her as the champion. We're talking about her as the challenger. And with all that time, with the discussion we just had, with what she's been feeling like for the past however many years as the champion, how do you think she'll look as the challenger?
Maybe it takes a bit more pressure off of her. Maybe she becomes a lot more focused. Like there's less complacency. Because when you're the champ, everything's on you. But I still think she'll be like the favorite for that fight, and Pena will be the underdog. But yeah, I think she'll be a lot less complacent being the challenger. I think.
Okay. What you saying, Kozil? How do you think she'll look going forward from this loss?
I don't wanna count out Juliana straight away because I do feel like she is quite underrated in the sense that her record wasn't the greatest coming into the fight against Nunes.
Right.
But we all know what she was capable of. But the disparity in competition between her and Nunes is just like it's crazy at the end of the day. But everyone has to understand the fact that Juliana Pena is a very credible fighter. But I still feel like it will be naive to not go with Amanda Nunes in the rematch because there's so many intangibles. There's so many like factors that came into play with this fight that has only come into our understanding now, like with the family life, her training camp, the Kayla Harrison news. So at the end of the day, it's all on Amanda Nunes in my opinion because Amanda Nunes at her best, I don't feel like there's any fighter in both weight divisions that she conquered that can really have a successful fight against her. So at the end of the day, I feel like Nunes has to block out all of the distractions, even her kid. She has to block her kid out for however long the training camp is, the 6 weeks or whatever, how long it is. Block everyone off and then remain hungry because at the end of the day, when you're at the top, it's hard to stay there, but you don't really have the same type of motivation as you do when you're chasing the title. And right now she's back to chasing the title. So I feel like with that scenario in play, with her chasing the title, I definitely feel like she will take it more seriously and not see Juliana Pena as an easy competitor or overlooker. So I feel like she'll have that undivided attention of Amanda Nunes, and I feel like Amanda Nunes will have enough to get it done in the rematch.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I really would. I still think that Amanda was her own worst enemy in this fight. But just to keep, because a lot of people in the chat have talked about this guy, I guess we got to talk about him ourselves. Sean O'Malley put on a display last night. Something that I think we've become accustomed to with him. I think with him, the biggest question mark is not his performance, but who he's fighting. Right? So, and I think Kozilla, because you brought up a fighter who I think Sean O'Malley should fight next. And Dominic Cruz. I want to see those two. I think Garbrandt has to show himself in a better light for a couple more fights. And in order for us to actually think that it'll be some type of competition. But at the same time, you could make the argument that because of Garbrandt's losses, O'Malley might, at this point, as he's rising, might be the perfect fight to see if Garbrandt is really done or he's not. So what do you guys think about O'Malley and what he showed you last night?
Go on, Kems.
You go first. I'm just sorry.
Okay. Yeah, man. O'Malley, like, I feel like, as I said before, you can even argue that even at this stage in his career, he's top 5 strikers in the UFC right now. Like, you can easily argue that. He's so comfortable going backwards. He's tall. He's the 5'10" bantamweight. Like, that's unheard of, man. Apart from maybe Corey Sanhagen.
Yeah, he's the other tall one. He's the other tall one, I'd say.
Yeah, there's not really many guys like that are built the same way as Sean O'Malley, you know. So at the end of the day, his size, like at bantamweight, combined with his pure striking ability and his takedown defense, I feel like that needs to improve. But his striking ability and his size for that weight class is going to provide big problems. Because look, if you look at it like this, I feel like Peter Yan is a better striker than Sean O'Malley, but I feel like Sean O'Malley is more dynamic, especially with his kicks. He does the same type of feints that Adesanya does with his hips, and not really a lot of people, not a lot of people like grasp that when you first watch him. It just takes like time when you watch him as well just to understand what he's doing. So I feel like he's just so different and awkward, and he'll give a lot of fighters problems. So at the end of the day, I feel like we do need to see him in a tough matchup. I feel like he needs to be ranked now, and he needs to be taking on ranked opponents. The UFC have been protecting him because he's an asset. He's very marketable. He's a cool guy. He can relate to most of the guys that watch the UFC at the moment. So at the end of the day, Dana needs to let him off the leash, man. He needs to put him in with a guy that can hold his own. I don't feel like we should rush him just yet because we all witnessed what happened with Cody Garbrandt and the demise that we'll get onto later. But I just want to see him fight a striker or someone that will give him a challenge. Maybe like an older guy, as I said, like a Dominic Cruz, and someone else like that. So at the end of the day, we'll have to see it, man.
Now hold up, let me make sure I give a shout out to the queen one time of Mimi TV. Y'all make sure y'all go to Twitch, go subscribe to Mimi TV, one of the realest football opinionistas out there. She a real one for her squad, Watford FC. Any Watford fans in the chat, y'all know who to go to for the primetime opinion. Always dope content. Love to see you in the chat too, Mimi. Hope you're well. Your team gonna be all right. It's a long season. And there are scrubbier teams than yours. Just know that. So, let's see Steven in the chat. I see a comment on TikTok where someone said Kobe Covington will never be champion. I think that's BS. What are your thoughts? It's kind of hard to envision him as champ when you have Kamaru. So what? That's welterweight. So
I think he's in a DC situation. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's in.
I think Kamaru has to lose to someone for him to get another chance at the belt because I think it's 2 definitive wins. Right? It's 2 definitive wins. So I can't see that changing anytime soon. It's wild. And yeah, to the Dominic Cruz points, and even I think it might be speaking to Sean O'Malley. His high level feints and he cuts angles in real with his footwork. I caught a clip of a video of somebody videotaping the fight from like a fan's perspective who's in the arena, and Dominic Cruz's movement is wild. He gets in and out. I don't think I've seen a fight like there's not a fighter that at that division who gets in and out. And what I mean by that is he connects with his target, and on the retreat, he doesn't get hit. He's very technical when it comes to him setting up his shots and getting right back out. So Sean O'Malley hasn't met an IQ fighter like Dominic Cruz. But I think I saw in the chat somewhere. Appreciate the love, Mimi. I think I saw in the chat somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, here it goes. I'd be so down for that O'Malley, but I think Cruz wants Aldo. So that's an interesting shout when you're thinking about Aldo, Cruz, veterans of the sport, real deal championship level fighters. I'm not going to lie to you. I need that to be a 5-round fight. That's not a 3-round fight. What do you boys think about that?
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, I'd need to see that in a 5-round fight. I'd have to. I think three rounds. I think 3 rounds it's not enough. Like 3 rounds go by so easily. Like 5 rounds go by quick enough. But like 3 rounds, I don't think we'll get to see that fight in all its glory in 3 rounds.
3 rounds. I can't. I wouldn't want to. Like, listen, bro. Just because Aldo as a fighter, I don't think like again. I could watch that dude fight in slow motion for Lord knows how many hours, bro. Like, it's just with him, the placement of his shots. Like, he has a shot, like the liver shot. How many people have we seen fold through his liver shot, bro? I don't think, like, again, that's like, it's like how you have the footballers that have that signature move. That's like his signature move in fights. Like, we've seen it happen so many times, it's just so cold. And I think that with Aldo versus Cruz, bro, I'm so excited right now just thinking about that shit. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I'm saying, though. 3 rounds, I feel cheated. What we saying?
Yeah, no, I feel like you guys are giving it a lot of like. I feel like you guys are giving it a lot more like I don't know how to say it. Time, I just feel like that's a blowout in my opinion. Genuinely, I feel like it's a blowout.
I like that. For who?
I don't feel like it's particularly close at all. Particularly close at all. So,
who do you think would wax the other? Who do you think will get the dub? Easy.
I got Aldo winning comfortably.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we all know styles make fights.
Yeah.
Stylistically, Dominic Cruz doesn't want to see anyone like Jose Aldo in front of him.
But did you see? They're saying in the press conference that Cruz wouldn't say no to that fight.
See, bro, and him and Jose Aldo is a potential like. Well, I'm not saying it's a big money fight, but it's the most. It's the most fight. It was the best fight that will generate the most income for him, in my opinion. Maybe O'Malley, but O'Malley's not gonna. He's not gonna give you a headline and maybe even co-main event. He might give you a co-main event, but he won't be able to headline a show like that. So at the end of the day, Cruz, he's at the position where he's an established fighter. He doesn't really need to fight anymore. He's really a pundit or an analyst right now. So I feel like he's just trying to get as much money as you can. Like at the tail end of your career, that's what you have to do. I mean, you're supposed to do that like throughout your whole career, but there's a more emphasis to pick the money fights when your career is winding down. So especially with Cruz and Aldo, I don't see it particularly close. The one thing we know, as you said, Eddie, one of the things we know Aldo is for is that liver shot, which he's put into his game recently. But Aldo is the most famous for leg kicks. Those leg kicks that were like thunder, bro, against Cruz.
Yeah.
And Cruz is so footwork heavy. Like sometimes when you see Cruz fight, like I saw him against I mean he always does this, but against what's his name? Cody, it was the most prevalent where Cody really timed him. So Cruz he starts out of range and then he comes into mid range and then he comes back out. and then he comes back in, and then he comes back out. But then Cody saw he came in that every time he's timed him. So what he does is on the third time he comes in and he throws his punches, and then Cody timed that. So he knew he was gonna come back into range and not fake it on the third go. And then Cody literally caught him every single time he done that. And for me, Jose Aldo was one of the best counter strikers in the UFC. So Cruz won't be able to use his movement because he's going to be nullified by the leg kicks. Cruz won't be able to take him out like with pure punches because he doesn't have that power. The cardio will be on Aldo's side, in my opinion. I feel like Cruz does struggle with cardio in 5-round fights. And Jose Aldo is the best counter wrestler in the history of the UFC. There's no fighter in UFC history that can match up striking and wrestling together. Anti-wrestling, sorry. So no one really has been able to take him down like that. Maybe a Mendes, Peter Yan got him like we got him on the ground, but that was after like
after beating his ass a little bit.
So at the end of the day, it's just a very, very bad matchup for Cruz, man. I don't see it going even remotely close to Cruz's favor.
People, and I'm telling you, can only get that level of top flight analysis here at Sarcasm City. Walk to the Octagon. Thank you for that, because that was a dope ass breakdown.
Yeah, where else do you get that,
man? Real
DC
talk,
and Joe Rogan don't even give you that.
Yeah, man, he too busy getting high. But we'll leave that alone. So we gonna talk about so I Star Sailor, the OG in the chat. Wagwan. Yo, Cam, you watch this Vinicius Performance versus Athletic?
I'm seeing on Twitter. People are wild about it.
Okay, yeah, man. I'm just gonna say that boy. Hey, I bought him for a reason on my career mode. I'll leave it at that. We got Danzo saying, like I said, 3 rounds. I feel cheated, but with Kozilla breaking it down so eloquently, we might need to see a 3 round just to make sure Dominic makes it out the octagon. You dig what I'm saying? So here we go. Coles is right, but yeah, Cruz wants Aldo, so I guess that's what he wants. Peter, I'm the Yinka. I'm new to the UFC. I've been enjoying it very much. Who do you guys have for the Francis Cyril fight? Ooh. Oh man,
it depends.
It depends. It's so like tangled, bro. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's get to more of the other comments. Connor Oliveira, who wins?
This one's interesting. It's like if Oliveira can get through that flurry in the first round that Connor puts on people, I think he wins that fight. Because everyone knows in the first round, Connor's at his most dangerous. And as the fight goes on, he becomes less dangerous because he gasses. And I think if Oliveira gets him on the ground in those second, third, fourth, fifth rounds, I think it's a long night for Connor. But it just depends.
Connor got to fight at least 3 people before we get to this conversation. They got to be
at least.
They got to be nice. They can't just be anybody. They got to be nice.
He's got to be Dustin before he even thinks about fighting Oliveira. He has to beat Dustin.
That's a fact. Aldo, for the longest time, stopped throwing leg kicks. It was his last fight with Rob Font. You've seen him bring it back a little. What do you think about that, Kozilla?
I do agree with that because Jose Aldo, I feel like when he came to bantamweight, he started training with the Brazilian boxing team, and he started to trade more with his fists, like in a pure boxing stance. Because historically, we've known Aldo to be a world-class Muay Thai fighter with world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I feel like he was, when he did come to the bantamweight division, he did rely a lot more on his boxing because I feel like he wanted that, and he was even flirting with the idea to go and become a professional boxer at one point. So I feel like, he is right with that take, but I do feel like those type of movements with the leg kicks and those type of stuff is like it's embedded in your career as a fighter. Like you're never gonna forget it. So I feel like Aldo will have that in his arsenal, when he will most certainly use that against a fighter that's susceptible to leg kicks like Dominic Cruz, that's so footwork heavy and so movement heavy.
And that's the kryptonite to movement. Get your legs beat up, you don't move as fast. It's just that simple. So I think you're definitely right calling that out.
Plus, it kills the power. Like your power comes from your legs, man. You kill the legs, you kill the power.
That's it, man. That's great points by you too. We got Ahmed in the chat talking about Vinny Jr. over in Bashford.
Clear of Rashford. Clear.
This is a United free zone right now, my brother. Just let me live through this UFC real quick, and then we'll get back to that Scrubellini, but we'll leave that alone. So now that we've discussed that, I think back and forth, and we even got, of course, the Juliana Pena chat against Emmanuel Nunes in the beginning. You guys can rewind that if you need to catch up. Let's talk about the main event of the evening. Oh, Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. Great fight. Like, all of both those men, like we said, it was going to be an honorable fight. And in actuality, I think we saw the best of what those two fighters have to offer. And Kozilla, you brought something up in the beginning of the fight that was mightily important for the first round. So we'll talk about the first round for right now, which with regards to the mid-range kind of striking that Dustin kind of found himself in the pocket with, where he's just reading everything, applying pressure at his range. And it kind of started, you could say that Oliveira kind of tried to put him on the cage, and he got off the cage, and then the rest was history for the first round. What did you see in the first round? And is that what you expected, more importantly, from the first round?
Yeah, I feel like it went fairly similar to what I envisioned. I feel like with Oliveira, he still is a class fighter that deserves a lot of respect. But he has one glaring weakness, and that's his head movement. Apart from that, you can't really say anything that's wrong with his game. That's a clear weakness.
You did say that. You said that before the fight. His head movement is not very good.
Literally it. And I feel like if he does somehow gets on board and somehow gets I think he's with I don't know what camp he's with. I was gonna say with Mark Henry and Frankie Edgar and whatnot, but I feel like that's Barboza. But I feel like if he gets a proper striking coach, like maybe a Trevor Whitman or maybe a Mike Winkelman, it will be it's crazy, man. It's curtains for the rest of the division, in my opinion. But in terms of that first round, I feel like it did go very similar to what I said it was gonna go. I feel like with Dustin Poirier, he loves that mid-range. He loves it. That's where he likes to fight. He likes to fight, not in the pocket especially, but just outside of the pocket. So in between the close and the furthest range where you could just say your jab. But I feel like with Edson Barboza, he was not Edson Barboza. With Charles Oliveira, I feel like he was very comfortable, and I feel like with the pressure, I feel like that's what his team wanted him to do. Because Dustin Poirier doesn't really fight the best when he's backed up against the cage, and that's where they wanted him to fight. Against McGregor, Poirier was the aggressor. Against Gaethje, the fight was 50-50. It was only when we saw him against Khabib, that's where Dustin Poirier started to panic and break a bit. And so literally that's what his team wanted him to do, and he deployed that game plan with ease. In my opinion, he wanted, Oliveira wanted Poirier against the cage, where he could literally dictate the pace of the fight and maybe even take him down, which we did see. So at the end of the day, that first round was particularly close, but I feel like Poirier did get the better of him, but that was only for the first round.
Yeah, because I think, and Camps, I want to get your thoughts on this. Oliveira was getting touched up a bit in that first round, so much to the point where I think you could have say Dustin got a knockdown if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did, and he got like half a knockdown before that, but I think that was more of a slip. But I'm not too sure. I'd have to watch it back again.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the first round?
I thought the first round was all Dustin, which is why you have to credit the champ. He didn't stick to the same game plan. He changed the game plan. He took him down. I think it was a bit fortunate in the second round how he got him in full guard, but changed the game plan and it worked from there on, and he got the win.
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep it with you, Cams. They're talking about that's a big theme that I heard after the fight. Always stuff comes out after the fight. You never hear about the stuff. The commentators didn't really speak on it. But it's come to the attention that there was a lot of glove grabbing in the on the part of Oliveira. What are your thoughts on those types of conversations now?
I think people just want to complain for the sake of complaining. I'm not gonna lie. Like Oliveira won fair and square. I think Dustin Poirier said that himself. Like Oliveira won fair and square. What is a? I know glove grabbing's illegal, but in the grand scheme of things, what does that mean? Like, someone correct me if I'm wrong. Like someone, I don't understand.
So I think it's like literally like, you know how there's hand fighting and you can kind of control the wrist.
Yeah,
I think controlling the glove gives you a different kind of leverage, excuse me, whereas the hand is kind of immobilized.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't necessarily get a grip on certain things, on certain places, because he has both his hands on a different kind of surface area, which allows you to control how his movement is. I think that's what people are getting at.
Yeah, I guess so.
But it's one of those situations for me. I'm gonna keep it honest. I just think that, simply put, Dustin couldn't punish him as much as he needed to with his hands. And we're seeing it. I think that's the thing with both of these fights. Yeah, Juliana Pena's face got marked up, but it didn't seem to deter her from being able to hit on Amanda Nunes. And in this fight, Dustin connected with a lot of shots in that first round, but the entire fight flipped when the second round came and Oliveira literally controlled Dustin on the ground for that entire round. Then we got to the third round, and Lord have mercy. It looked like a boa constrictor trying to eat a meal.
Yeah.
Like he was just all over him, bro. You guys, what were your thoughts on? Let's get to the second round. We'll get to the third round, of course, but the second round, when everything kind of shifted.
I'll let Godzilla go.
I mean, going on to that round, if I'm not mistaken, that's when the glove grab happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, that was a game changer in the fight. I feel like the referee, Hub Dean, man, it's been a long career. It's been a long journey, but for me, he's not at the caliber to be reffing these high-level fights anymore, because this was a very big thing in that fight. So essentially, when you watch the fight, small things like this go unnoticed, but when you rewatch the fight, it'll become a lot more like prevalent. So at the end of the day, I remember there was a bit where we were talking about the fight, and the fight was going on, and then Cams must have mentioned that Oliveira had Poirier in the omoplata position. So he had him, and then Poirier tried to escape, but then Oliveira had his leg to stop him from escaping, but then he let go of the leg because there was no sweep there available, and then Poirier literally tried to roll into a sweep. So he tried to come out of that position because his arm was already tangled by the omoplata. So the only way you can actually get out of that is if you roll into the submission. So he rolled, but then Oliveira had his gloves on Poirier's gloves, like the unit, his fingers in units were on. Literally, they were on the end of Poirier's glove. So
I did see that a little bit though.
So literally, if Poirier's glove wasn't held by Oliveira, I feel like he would have been able to roll, and then his arm would have been free, and I feel like they would have been in Poirier would have been in Oliveira's guard. So I feel like that was a big thing, and Pub Dean, the way he didn't actually even acknowledge that. Like I feel like a top quality referee like Mark Goddard, he would have saw that, and he would have called out Oliveira for that. So at the end of the day, Dustin was hard done by the referee, and that was such a pivotal moment in the fight because when Oliveira was in guard, he was in full guard. The fight changed at the end of the day because Poirier really couldn't do anything. Like Poirier, to his credit, he's a high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but Edson Barboza is a cut above that, man. Sorry, why am I keep on saying Edson Barboza, bro?
Yes, right.
Hey, we know what you mean. We know what you mean.
We know what you mean. Yeah.
Charles Oliveira is a step above that. So at the end of the day, like, it was a very big mistake, and I feel like that potentially cost Dustin Poirier the fight.
Interesting. Cam, what are your thoughts on the second round?
I thought the second round was a mirror of the first round. I think the first round we got to see, like you said earlier, we got to see the best of Dustin. In the second round, we got to see more the best of Oliveira, which kind of led into the third round. That's kind of how I think it went.
Yeah, it's wild because that first round, I don't think that Dustin was ready for it. And what I mean by that is I don't think that he could have been prepared for how much that fight would have flipped the way it had, like he spoke on. Because he looked like he was right back in the Khabib fight where there were just levels to the grappling game that he wasn't used to.
Yeah.
And you saw Oliveira gave himself up a couple times in order to get the position with one more move. And what that showed me was this is a guy who trusts himself even in the face of danger in this department. Like, there's not a position in the jiu-jitsu game that Oliveira is scared of being in. He can have his back. He'll feel just fine enough to get back to a point where he can control you again. That stark contrast ended up being the difference in the fight. And now going to the third round. The third round is where the fight was over, where everything came to a close. So, Cam, we picked the third round submission. And I think I'm speaking for myself, like, my thing was it would just take a little bit of time for Oliveira to find where the opening was.
That's what I thought as well.
And when he got to the cage, the rest was history. So that's what you thought. Yeah, just expound on that.
Personally, I thought it was going to be a bit of a feeling out process. What we saw, there was no feeling out process. They both just came flying out the blocks. Yeah. I thought Dustin started very well. Like, I genuinely, after the first round, I thought, yeah, this could go to a decision. But in my head, I still had that submission in the third round in my head. Then I saw the second round, and I was like, okay, this is interesting now because they've both got pretty significant wins on each round. So when it went to the third round and I saw the submission, I was just like, yeah, that's crazy. Because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect it as much as when I predicted it, but it happened.
It happened. Kozilla, what'd you make of it?
The third round, bro, crazy, man. Like, it was crazy, bro. It was a matter of time, man. I feel like I think it was in the third round where Oliveira, he pushed Poirier onto the cage, and then he literally, I think it was that round where Poirier must have threw a hook, and then Oliveira went under that hook. He roped the hook, and then he got the body lock, and then from there, as soon as you give Oliveira your back, game's done, man. You can count them. You can count the minutes before.
Bro,
Oliveira
you give a black belt, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt your back. It's just done, innit? It's done. But then wrap your legs as well. It's game over.
Not even any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. This is Charles Oliveira, man. Like, I can count you. I can count you maybe three or four fighters in the whole of UFC that maybe are on the same ground game level as Charles Oliveira. Maybe Dariush, maybe Fabricio Verdum if he's still in there. Damian Maya. I don't know. That's it. That's literally it.
Yeah, that's it. That is
So
it.
you're saying we have to legit put him up there with some of the greatest Brazilian jiu-jitsu mixed martial arts we've ever seen.
100%, without a shadow of a doubt.
Bro, he needs his flowers. Like,
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of the times when people fight him after the fight, they say he's the most technical fight I've ever fought. That's literally what they say. Like Kevin Lee, you know, has just been released. He came out on Twitter yesterday. He said Charles is the most technical fight I've ever fought. Like, it's crazy. I'm just glad he's getting his flowers now from people.
Yeah,
it's been a long time coming. It's been a long journey.
Absolutely. Because people don't understand. Like, if you've watched the UFC for a long time, Oliveira has been a fighter you've seen put in fights for many of years.
2010 since the UFC. 2010.
Man. And we've seen him get his ass whooped.
Yep.
That's the thing. We've seen him take some bad L's. So to see him at this point is definitely for sure been a joy to watch. So I think for me, with regards to the third round, it's a continuance of the dominance that he found in the second round. And I don't think there's another ground game person who in actuality can mess with him in that divide. Because again, I understand Dariush, but Dariush is, I think he's from more of the Greco school. Is that correct, Cozell? Like, he's more of a Greco wrestler than a BJJ.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think it might be judo. I'm not 100%.
I think it's no, it's not. Yeah, I think it's judo because I think someone tweeted it. I think it was Islam that tweeted it. I might be wrong.
Yeah, they're gonna have a hell of a fight. But yeah, I think the other thing is the guys who are going to challenge him haven't been in this kind of moment as much as he has now. He was a part of a very big card with a lot of media presence. He was a part of a card where a lot of eyes were on what they're doing because they were in the T-Mobile arena. So he's going to be a hard fight for people moving forward. And now to the real meat and potatoes question.
This is different because Gaethje's hands are they're like dynamite. So they're not like Poirier's. I think if Gaethje lands a sweet one on Oliveira, it could be a good night. And then leg kicks as well. Yeah, they play a big factor because those leg kicks are devastating. I don't know if you've seen his leg kicks from when he was in. Where was he before UFC? Was it Bellator?
I think it
World
was
Series of Fighting.
Yeah, that's it. His leg kicks in those fights. Oh my god,
different,
disgusting.
Yeah,
like I think this fight's as we always say, styles make fights. This is one where styles will make a great fight. I think this will be a better fight than the one we saw yesterday. This could be a great fight.
Yeah. What do you think, Cozilla? A potential? I don't think it's potential. I think it's actually the fight to make because Justin actually did win his last fight of the Gaethje Oliveira championship fight. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, I feel like Cam said it perfectly. Styles make fights, and this is stylistically the one of the toughest matchups Oliveira can have. So if you look at it on paper, you've got Gaethje, who's had the career renaissance in striking. Like he wasn't really the best striker. There was one guy in particular, I can't remember his name, but they were in a press conference, him and Gaethje, and then he must have called Gaethje the Homer Simpson of the UFC lightweight division because he used to just get hit a lot. But
I think it was Michael Johnson. Fight, might have been Michael Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. That fight against Tony Ferguson, what we saw, I haven't seen anyone do that to Tony Ferguson. He literally destroyed him. Tony Ferguson, bro, one of the scariest fighters we've seen in the lightweight division. And he literally
the boogeyman they called him, and he got picked apart.
Exactly. He got outclassed, completely outclassed. He got babied in that fight. Yeah. So Gaethje's striking has come leaps and bounds since the fights against Alvarez and whatnot and Poirier. So I feel like Gaethje right now, he's one of the best striking in the lightweight division. And Oliveira, I want to give my props to Oliveira as well. Oliveira's ground game is the best. Like, it was one of the best in the UFC. So there's a disparity. I don't want to call it a vintage striker versus grappler match, but in many senses that might be the case here, because as good as Charles Oliveira's striking is, I feel like Gaethje's power and the way he sets up his punches is completely different. Like, Trevor Whitman is a world-class coach, and Gaethje was the perfect canvas for Trevor Whitman.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, if we're looking at this fight now, if Oliveira gets Gaethje to the ground, it's game over. Because what we just saw, what happened to Dustin Poirier, and Dustin Poirier is a very good black belt in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Gaethje's ground game is nothing compared to Oliveira's. Literally, there is a big disparity in that in that sense. So
just his takedown defense for me, that's very, very good.
Exactly. But then there's another caveat too: the leg kicks. We've never seen how Charles Oliveira, this version of Charles Oliveira, has responded to someone that's so good with leg kicks. And Gaethje's leg kicks, different, man. Different.
It's like a sledgehammer. It's like a sledgehammer to the calf.
Essentially, with this matchup, I do think Gaethje will get the better of Oliveira, but I don't want to discredit or count Oliveira out at all, because we can see what this guy is made of, man. They counted him out against Chandler. There was a lot of guys that counted him out against Poirier, but he deserves his credit, and he is in every single fight that they get put up against. So I feel like I'll just edge Gaethje by just a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to, because of what I've seen, I tend to think that the striking of Gaethje will be just so detrimental to Oliveira. He'll have a harder time getting into the range where he can control Gaethje and put him on the cage and then get the job done. Like, he's going to have to be ready to be absolutely punished if he wants to get a submission victory. I think from what I saw from Dustin is, I don't think Dustin had the power, like we've been talking about, to put Gaethje out. I mean, excuse me, to put Oliveira out. But I do think Gaethje has that kind of power, because for whatever you want to say about Michael Chandler, he's a tank. Michael Chandler is not your average fighter with regards to his pure strength and his ability to eat some shots. So, Oliveira.
See, the thing is,
go ahead.
With Oliveira, I've noticed in his last two fights, it's been a bit of a sticky first round. It's not been a very like controlled first round. I think he's got knocked down in the first round. His last two, the Chandler fight and the Dustin fight. If Justin manages to knock him down, it could be a wrap. Like, if he takes a heavy shot off Justin, it could be a wrap. That's all I'm saying. That's something to look at.
Man, I'm gonna tell you this right now. You're not, with regards to just his first rounds and what I saw with those first rounds and what we've seen from Dustin, because we've never seen, when's the last KO Dustin has actually had?
Well, I'm not gonna count the Conor one as a KO.
Yeah, you can't count the Conor
one.
Wait.
Yeah, the first Conor one, it was a KO in January.
That was a
KO. That was a KO.
That was a KO. And then we saw what I just think, that's that proper 12 taking its toll on Conor, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think he had a broken foot.
He had a
broken foot in that fight.
So he had a knockout there. And since then, in that fight, he had a knockdown there, but no. Yeah, I think Oliveira gets touched too much, and getting touched by, like we said, getting touched by Justin is an entirely different conversation. So,
hardest hitter in that division.
You're talking about the leg kicks and the kick. Man, it's a different monster. And man, I think Oliveira can win by sub or KO. That left hook by KO by Chandler was nasty. So I'm saying, man, for what I think of Chandler as a technical fighter, an experienced fighter, he is one of the biggest freak athletes in that division with regards to his size and his speed and power. All those things
He's so
coming together.
explosive.
So
So explosive, Chandler. Explosive. That's the best way I can describe Chandler. It's just explosive energy. Everything he puts into it, every shot he puts in is explosive.
Everything about like it's wild how he just like will be taking shots. The next thing you know comes that crazy overhand right that I'll talk about a lot, and he punished everybody. He's punished everybody. So yeah, I will go with Justin as well. I think Justin and the with regards to the styles make fights part of this conversation is where I think Justin can have a lot of success maintaining the range from getting put up against the fence and having his way with Oliveira. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that.
So yeah, I think we're gonna wind down here, boys. This has been another episode of Walk to the Octagon. We have more in store. It's not the last one. We're coming back in full effect. I think the next time you might see me is in a couple weeks. Kozilla and Cams will be around. They may have one out of the spur of the moment. But we will definitely be back for the January 22nd card, which is the big one, boys. Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou. Let's just get a short little taste. Like, what are you guys thinking so far out now that we're kind of a couple weeks out, honestly, with that fight being in place? What do you guys think so far?
I think that I don't like to predict the heavyweight fights because it's so hard to predict because all of them have got that X factor. It's the knockouts. Like Francis Ngannou has an X factor. Like it doesn't matter if he's getting dominated, just one shot is all it takes. But I think Cyril Gane has the technical aspect over him. I think, but then it's the knockout fight. It doesn't matter how technical you can be the most technical fighter in the world. You're not taking that shot of Francis Ngannou. So it just all depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, man. It's tough. It's like you know who the better technically sound fighter is, but there is nothing in this world that can constitute a Francis Ngannou punch at the end of the day. Kozilla, what are your thoughts, brother?
It's a very, very good fight. Like, I'm really excited to see this, man, honestly. But I feel like Cyril Gane is just the best way to describe it is like Kevin Durant. Like, you've never seen anything like this, man. He's just different, honestly. Like, I've never seen a heavyweight that can dominate fights, just out pointing strikers. Like, he's a lightweight or even a featherweight. Like, the wide array of moves that he has in his arsenal. He's got the teep, he's got the leg kicks, quick jabs, body work. He's got all of it. The knees and the clinch. He's got every single aspect you could want from a heavyweight striker. And to add to that, he's bigger than Francis Ngannou. So that is crazy. Like, and I remember watching that fight against Lewis. He barely got hit, man. He barely got hit.
Yeah, he dominated that fight. That was crazy.
On the flip side, as Cam said, the X factor, bro. One punch from Ngannou can take any man walking on this planet out. Any man. One punch from Ngannou, I'm certain any man can take out. So at the end of the day, it's gonna be crazy, man. I want to see how Cyril Gane, because there's a lot of question marks with Cyril Gane's game. At the end of the day, I liked how he looked against Lewis, but there's still a lot of question marks. We don't know how we can take a punch. We don't know. We don't know whether like how he looks towards the later rounds against a power puncher, like a proper power puncher that can chain combination punches together, not like a Lewis. So at the end of the day, I'm going to edge Cyril Gane because I feel like he's got all the physical attributes to compete with Ngannou, but he's also such an elusive and quick striker that I don't feel like Ngannou will be able to land clean on him. So I'm going to go with Gane by decision.
Yeah, I think that's the choice that makes the most sense because we've seen this before with power punches in the past, but what I will say is I do think Ngannou is a far better technical striker than Lewis. I think I've seen enough from Ngannou, and one thing I see the desire to get better in Ngannou. Meaning from fight to fight, I've seen enough to let me know that he's in the gym. He's getting better every time he tries to go into that gym. And at the same time, though, with these power punchers, we talk about the power punchers all the time, but you have to be able to cleanly connect. And so I'm hearing that Cyril was actually bigger than Francis. With that being the case, Francis has to be able to control the ground. Like he has to get him on the ground because Gagne has a kickboxing background. You can tell by the way he strikes. He's very particular with his placement. He incorporates everything from the kicks to the jabs. And then when he wants to put the power on you, he has the wherewithal to do it. Oh, my dog. Pro Club's coming soon. What time is Pro Clubs, Cams?
Yes, sir. Half 10.
Half 10? Oh, yeah. We're going to wrap up soon. We won't get too caught up in there. But, yeah, we will be here to discuss that fight for sure. But Ngannou has been beefing UFC matchmakers, and he also wanted to box. Maybe his focus elsewhere at the moment. Gagne might capitalize.
That's a factor.
That's a fact. But listen, with regards to Gagne, we're admitting that Gagne is for sure going to be the hardest competition Francis has ever had.
100%. He's hungry. Like, I don't think Stipe, when he fought him in the rematch, was as hungry. I think Stipe was winding down. Like,
yeah, I think Stipe
is hungry.
Stipe, like we've been talking about, just that last fight, man, that showed me that, Father Time is undefeated. Stipe didn't have the pop anymore. He didn't have the kind of stuff you needed to survive that fight. The dog mentality you need to survive that fight. He got hit a lot.
And also with the comment that Emin just said, yeah, bro, like we'll get into it eventually, but just to add to it, like I heard there was a rumor going out that Francis Ngannou's having money problems and he had to loan money to fund his training camp against Cyril Gane. So mentally, I don't think he's all the way there. And he's also, as Emin said, he's having problems with UFC matchmakers. There's Dana and Francis are clashing heads at the moment. So at the end of the day, that all adds to Cyril Gane's side. Like he's going to be, and one more thing to mention as well was that these guys came from the same training camp.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, they come from the same training camp, and the coach that trained both of them, obviously Francis has left. I think he's in a different gym now. I think he's with Extreme Couture, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he left him. Absolutely.
That same coach is with Cyril Gane, so maybe that guy has something up his sleeves, and maybe he'll train Cyril Gane to be most equipped to take on Francis and his different attributes that he brings to the octagon.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I can't see that not having a factor in this fight. The fact that you have your old coach coaching the hardest competition you've ever had to come across. That is not a good spell for Francis. But because people have to get to other places, we're going to end the conversation here. Big ups to Cams, big ups to Kozilla, big ups to the chat. You guys made this conversation so dope. Let's start with you, Cams. Where can people find you just to keep reminding them?
You can actually find me in 10 minutes on the Sarcasm City this YouTube channel, playing pro clubs with myself, Peter, Flawless, etc. But yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter at cam_731, go there. And other than that, just like, follow, subscribe, do all of that. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, Kozilla, what about you, bro?
Yeah, man. Catch me on Twitter. I'll be on there. I'm usually on there all the time. I'm at Kozilla53. Make sure you guys support Flawless as well. Just make sure you guys subscribe to Sarcasm City TV. Make sure you guys tune into the Pro Club session, especially those NBA watch-alongs on Twitch, man, because that's where the war zone happens, man. That's where it goes down. So yeah, man, big up everyone.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna second that. We the Sarcasm City team movement don't stop. We got pro comes coming at you real fast, real talk in a hurry. The boys about to put on the show. Then we got the NBA watch-alongs on the Sarcasm City TV Twitch. So before you leave this stream, if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, then hit the notification bell. Y'all come through every time. Sarcasm City got every kind of sport coverage that you want to see. One of the realest platforms for that on YouTube. And yeah, man, appreciate everybody in the chat. We're actually going to call it one. So peace and love, everybody. And we will see you soon. All right.